Hello and welcome to this episode of World Anvil. Well, today we're looking at a new feature that's just been added. It's hot off of the coder's hands, if you like. And what it's called seeding. No, it has nothing to do with gardening whatsoever. So what is seeding? Now, I've got my articles behind me here for one of the worlds that I've created. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go and edit this. Now, obviously you're writing, you're running a game, you're doing whatever it is you're doing, and you have to have the RPG elements activated for you in order for this to work. But you have this new box called What Have I Seeded with My Players. You can see it here behind me, plus a portrait of someone who looks very similar to me, except I'm not wearing rose-tinted glasses. Now, the idea behind seeding is that the game is running, and your characters, in this case, they have just met Vios Ephratheis, who is the lord of the Vasul Empire. So Ephraith is this individual. I've got the full write-up here, what they do, all of that information's been filled in. But they now meet the character in the middle of a game, and happens to be talking to them. You are in full game master mode, you're running, and you have him look out of the window. He strokes his cleanly shaven chin, and he says, "If only there was something that could be done about the orc problem," as the players happen to walk in. Now, you threw that in simply because it was dialogue that the character was having with his general. As he sees the players walk in, he goes, "Oh, yes, well, of course, that's not for you to concern yourselves with. You're here because of the dragon." You have mentioned the orc problem is something that happens for the elves, or at least for this Ephraith character. That is a seed. Now, that seed, nothing might happen. The orc invasion, the orc problem might be that there was a servant who happened to be an orc and that they'd been caught stealing. Maybe that's the problem. It could also very well be that there is an invasion that is about to happen, or that the elves are about to invade the orcish territories. There is absolutely nothing more that's been established on this fact other than the orc problem. That is a seed. Now, that seed could grow. Later on, you're doing something and you've thrown in an orc into the combat. The players slay the orc, and as the characters are standing over the corpse of the orc, they look up at one another and they go, "I bet you this has something to do with the orc problem. Remember the lord of Vasul of that empire? He was talking about the orc. I bet this orc is linked to it." The seed has started to grow. Now, you need to keep track of your seeds. Sometimes you throw them out as in a passing. You're walking down the country lane. In the distance, you can see a ruined tower, very picturesque. Sheep graze around it. And down there is the village to which you head. You arrive at the village, and your description carries on. That tower has now been seeded. So in the map location on World Anvil, you can now go to this seed area and type in the Orc Problem. Look at that. Done. Saved changes. It now will sit here. So when you come back to Ephraith, you will remember the Orc Problem. Oh, that's right. I seeded the Orc Problem. And then they remembered that there was an orc. When they killed that orc, they also mentioned the orc problem. Right. I wasn't sure what I was going to do for the next adventure. I now know it's the orc problem. What is the orc problem? The seed doesn't tell you. And when you jot it down, you shouldn't try and explain it either. Rather let it grow. See where it goes. Okay, so there's an orc problem. Perhaps the Lord says, "You are a discreet operating company. I want you to head into the orc territories and see what you can find out there. Speak to a man by the name of Chauk. He is one of ours and will introduce you to the local communities. Don't do anything rash, just look around." You now have a complete adventure where the players' characters will happily go off and they will meet with Chauk, whom you would then obviously build into your actual adventure. They would go on an adventure. Perhaps there is then when you decide the orc problem is actually a battle invasion or this or that. Or they get there and there's nothing out of the ordinary. Chauk, however, has been murdered. He's been killed. Why has he been killed? Because the chieftain of the orcs discovered that he was working with the elves. No more than that. They come back to Saivios Ephraith, and they report he was killed by the orcish captain. To which the elf then says, "That escalates matters. Thank you for your attention. You may go." Again, nothing more, but now we have assassinating. Let's change the word assassinate because I don't know how to spell it. Let's just say Orc Chief knows about elvish spies. Again, we haven't done anything. The seed has grown even more. Now you can take it and go, okay, so there's clearly the orcs know about the elves know about the orcs. What are they spying on for each other? And you can develop an adventure. So seeds are, in this fairly lengthy video for World Anvil anyway, the seeds are the things that you throw in the ruined tower on the hill. Things that have nothing, there's nothing planned to them, there's no development whatsoever. But over time, you can come back to them. You can see that there's an orc problem. Yes. Should I do anything about it? No, I don't need to. But you can link things to it as well. An elvish company is found dotted with orc arrows. They link back to this orc problem. How? You don't know, and you don't need to know. That's the bottom line with seeds, is that you can just let them grow and organically evidence piles up until eventually you've got 3 or 4 things that have been tied to the orc problem. And you can now sit back and go, yes, the reason why there's an orcish problem and the orc warlord keeps killing off the elvish spies is because they both entered in a bakery contest and they don't want the other side to know what they're cooking. Could be something as silly as that, but it also could be a lot deeper. There could be hostages involved. There could be anything that's been involved. The point, however, is that after multiple adventures with the seed popping up every now and again, when it does finally flourish, when it does finally flower, the players are going to sit back and say, you have been planning this. You've been foreshadowing it for months or for weeks or for however long you've been seeding this stuff. You have been planning this whole thing for so long. That's amazing. Meanwhile, you've actually just been keeping track of seeds that you've thrown around. Some will grow and some just never will. They'll just remain the orc problem and they'll have no value. What have you lost? Nothing. But if you grow that seed out into a full adventure, what have you gained? The admiration of your players and this wonderfully complex world that feels like all sorts of things are going on behind the scenes, even though it's just a little seeded list. So now World Anvil gives you that space to jot it in there easily, quickly, and without any fuss, and you can save it to that character. How wonderful is that? Anyway, until next time, light up the forge.